In the year 2347, humanity had come a long way from its early days on Earth. Once confined to a single planet, humans now lived among the stars, sharing the galaxy with countless other species. This vast interstellar community was called the Galactic Concord, a union of civilizations working together to maintain peace and prosperity. But not everyone in the Concord trusted humanity. To many of the older, more advanced alien races, humans were unpredictable, too quick to act, too eager to push boundaries, and far too ambitious for their own good. Commander Nathan Hale stood quietly in the grand chamber of the Concord's Central Council Hall. Around him, representatives from dozens of alien species filled the room, their forms ranging from towering insectoids to shimmering beings of pure energy. The air buzzed with quiet murmurs as diplomats discussed matters of trade, exploration, and security. Nathan, dressed in his formal military uniform, felt out of place. He wasn't a politician or a negotiator, he was a soldier, and this ornate setting made him uncomfortable. Standing beside him was Lieutenant Clara Hayes, her sharp eyes scanning the room. She had a knack for reading people, or in this case aliens, and she could tell that tensions were high. Across from them sat Ambassador Roberta Finch, a seasoned diplomat known for her calm demeanor and clever words. Together they represented Earth at this critical summit. The meeting began when the Krylosian ambassador, a hulking creature with shimmering green skin and piercing yellow eyes, rose to speak. His voice boomed through the chamber, each word dripping with accusation. "For years we have tolerated humanity's presence in the Concord," he said, glaring directly at Nathan. "But now evidence has surfaced that your kind is amassing forces far beyond what is permitted by our laws. You claim to seek peace, yet you prepare for war." Nathan clenched his fists but kept his expression neutral. He knew accusations like these weren't new. Ever since humanity joined the Concord, there had been whispers about their intentions. Some feared that humans would one day try to dominate the galaxy. Others simply resented how quickly Earth had risen to prominence. What frustrated Nathan most was that none of it was true. Yes, humanity had built a strong military, but only because they understood the dangers of space better than anyone else. They hadn't survived centuries of hardship just to be labeled aggressors. Ambassador Finch stepped forward, her tone measured and diplomatic. "We assure you, esteemed members of the Council, that humanity seeks only cooperation and mutual growth within the Concord. Any reports of excessive militarization are baseless rumors spread by those who wish to undermine our unity." Her words seemed to calm some of the delegates, but others remained skeptical. A slender bird-like alien from the Varian Collective leaned forward, tilting its head curiously. "If what you say is true, then why do your fleets patrol regions outside human territory? Why do your scientists research weapons capable of destroying entire planets?" The questions came fast and sharp, each one painting humanity as a threat rather than an ally. Nathan wanted to defend his people, to explain that their actions were motivated by caution, not conquest. But he knew better than to interrupt. This was a game of politics, and Finch was far better suited to play it. As the debate dragged on, Nathan found himself thinking about the events leading up to this moment. It had been nearly 2 decades since Earth first joined the Concord. At the time humanity had been desperate for allies. Their resources were dwindling, their environment polluted, and their population growing uncontrollably. Joining the Concord offered hope, a chance to rebuild and thrive alongside other intelligent species. In exchange, humanity promised to abide by the Concord's rules, including strict limits on military expansion. But old habits died hard. Back on Earth, leaders still argued over whether relying solely on the Concord for protection was wise. Some believed that humanity needed to be self-reliant, even if it meant bending the rules slightly. Others insisted on following the Concord's guidelines to the letter, fearing the consequences of defiance. These disagreements often spilled into public view, fueling suspicions among the alien races. Nathan sighed inwardly. If only they could see the truth, that humanity wasn't trying to upset the balance of power. They were simply trying to survive. Space was unpredictable, full of dangers no one could foresee. Pirates, rogue AI, natural disasters, All posed threats that required preparation. Was it really so wrong to want to protect themselves? The discussion eventually shifted to another topic, giving Nathan a brief reprieve. He glanced at Clara, who gave him a reassuring nod. She knew how much pressure he was under, both as a representative of humanity and as someone tasked with maintaining peace. Despite her youthful appearance, Clara was one of the smartest officers under Nathan's command. Her ability to think strategically made her invaluable during tense situations like this. Just as Nathan started to relax, a sudden commotion erupted near the entrance of the chamber. A frantic aide hurried in, whispering urgently to several delegates. Whatever news they brought caused ripples of alarm throughout the room. Even the usually stoic Krylosians exchanged worried glances. "What is happening?" Ambassador Finch asked, her voice steady despite the rising tension. One of the council elders, a frail-looking being wrapped in flowing robes, addressed the assembly. "We have received troubling reports from the Outer Rim. Several colonies have gone silent, and communication networks are failing across multiple systems. Preliminary investigations suggest something unnatural may be responsible." Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. Silent colonies? Failed communications? It sounded like the beginning of a disaster. And if history was any indication, such events rarely ended well. Before anyone could respond, the chamber's main screen flickered to life, displaying grainy footage captured by drones stationed near the affected areas. The images showed eerie scenes: abandoned cities, scorched landscapes, and strange symbols etched into the ground. Most unsettling of all were glimpses of shadowy figures moving in the distance, their shapes distorted and unnatural. "This cannot be coincidence," the Krylosian ambassador growled, pointing an accusatory finger at Nathan. "Your kind must know something about this." Nathan opened his mouth to protest, but Finch raised a hand to silence him. "Enough," she said firmly. "Blame will get us nowhere. What we need now is cooperation. Humanity stands ready to assist in uncovering the truth behind these incidents." Her statement earned nods of approval from some delegates, though others remained wary. Nathan couldn't blame them. Trust was fragile, especially when fear loomed large. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was happening out there, in the void, it was bigger than any one species, including humanity. As the meeting adjourned, Nathan lingered behind, deep in thought. Something told him that this was only the beginning. Whatever force was lurking in the shadows, it wouldn't stop at a few isolated colonies. If the conquered didn't unite soon, the consequences could be catastrophic, and somewhere in the back of his mind a question nagged at him. Would humanity be seen as saviors or scapegoats when the truth finally came to light? Part 2. While the diplomats argued in the council chamber, far away from the polished halls of the Galactic Concord's headquarters, Captain Logan Shaw sat aboard the exploration vessel, Vanguard Star. The ship was small compared to the massive cruisers used by other species, but it was fast and equipped with advanced sensors. Logan had always preferred smaller vessels. They felt more personal, like an extension of himself. Besides, he wasn't a fan of big crowds or fancy ceremonies. He was a man of action, someone who thrived on solving problems rather than debating them. Logan leaned back in his chair on the bridge, staring at the swirling stars outside the viewport. His engineer, Samantha Sam Brooks, stood nearby, fiddling with a console. She was younger than him, with short brown hair and a sharp mind that made her indispensable. Sam had a way of explaining complicated technical issues in simple terms, which Logan appreciated. He wasn't exactly a tech genius, and having someone like her around saved him from looking foolish when things went wrong. "Anything yet?" Logan asked, breaking the silence. Sam shook her head without looking up. "Still nothing. Whatever this signal is, it's messing with our systems big time. I've never seen anything like it." The mission had started out routine enough. Distress call had been picked up near the edge of uncharted space, a region avoided by most travelers due to its dense asteroid fields and unpredictable gravitational anomalies. When the Vanguard Star arrived, however, they found no signs of life. Instead, their instruments detected strange interference patterns emanating from deep within the sector. At first, Logan thought it might be natural phenomena, some kind of cosmic event causing the disruption. But as they ventured further, the readings became increasingly unnatural. Could it be pirates? Logan mused aloud. Space pirates weren't uncommon, especially in lawless regions like this one. They often used jamming signals to disable passing ships before attacking. Sam finally looked up, her brow furrowed. Pirates don't leave trails like this. Look at these energy spikes. They're too precise. Someone, or something, is doing this on purpose. Logan nodded slowly. He trusted Sam's instincts. If she said it wasn't pirates, then it probably wasn't. Still, the situation left him uneasy. The unknown had a way of making even the bravest people nervous, and Logan was no exception. As they continued their search, the Vanguard star stumbled upon something that sent chills down both their spines, debris fields stretching for thousands of kilometers. The wreckage consisted of ships, dozens of them, maybe even hundreds. Some were ancient, their hulls corroded and battered by centuries of drifting through space. Others appeared newer, their designs sleek and familiar. Among the ruins, Logan recognized vessels belonging to several alien species, including the Krillosians and Varians. Even a few human ships lay scattered among the remains. "What happened here?" Sam whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the ship's engines. Logan didn't answer. He couldn't. The sight was overwhelming, a grim reminder of how fragile life in space truly was. Each shattered hull represented lives lost, dreams extinguished. And yet, there was something else about the scene that troubled him. It wasn't just random destruction. It was deliberate. Every piece of debris seemed to point toward a central location, as if drawn there by some unseen force. "Let's check it out," Logan said finally, gripping the controls tightly. "But stay alert. We don't know what we're dealing with." The Vanguard star moved cautiously through the debris field, its scanners working overtime to detect any potential threats. As they approached the center of the disturbance, a massive structure emerged from the darkness. It was unlike anything Logan had ever seen. The object resembled a colossal sphere, its surface covered in intricate patterns that glowed faintly in shades of blue and purple. Strange symbols etched into the metal shifted and changed as if alive, pulsating rhythmically like a heartbeat. "That thing. It's huge," Sam muttered, leaning closer to her monitor. "And those patterns? They're not random. They look like writing." "Writing?" Logan frowned. "From what language?" "I don't know," Sam admitted. "It doesn't match anything in our databases. Could be alien, could be something older." Older. The word hung in the air between them, heavy with implications. If the structure predated known civilizations, then whoever, or whatever had built it must have possessed knowledge and technology far beyond anything humanity currently understood. The thought was both fascinating and terrifying. Against his better judgment, Logan decided to investigate further. He guided the Vanguard star closer, careful to avoid triggering any defensive mechanisms. So far, the structure remained ominously silent, giving no indication of hostility. Still, Logan kept a hand near the weapons controls, ready to act if needed. When they were close enough, Logan activated the ship's external cameras, zooming in on the glowing symbols. Up close, the patterns seemed less like writing and more like circuitry, intricate pathways connecting various parts of the sphere. In some areas, sections of the surface appeared damaged, exposing layers of machinery beneath. "This isn't just a relic," Sam said suddenly, her tone urgent. "It's active. Those energy readings, they're coming from inside." Logan's stomach tightened. Active meant one thing. Whatever created this monstrosity might still be around, or worse, awake. Before he could decide what to do next, the HFY ship's alarms blared, startling them both. Red lights flashed across the bridge as warning messages scrolled across the screens. "We've got movement," Sam shouted, her fingers flying over the console. "Something's approaching." Logan spun the Vanguard star around, scanning the surrounding area. At first, he saw nothing. Then, emerging from the shadows cast by the massive sphere came shapes, dozens of them. They were sleek and metallic, their forms shifting fluidly as if made of liquid metal. Each one radiated cold efficiency, moving with purpose toward the tiny human ship. "Are those drones?" Logan asked, his voice tense. "I think so," Sam replied, her face pale. "But they're not registering as any known design. Whoever built them didn't want us finding out easily." The drones surrounded the Vanguard star, forming a tight perimeter. Their movements were synchronized, almost hypnotic. For a moment, Logan considered firing on them, but he hesitated. Attacking blindly might provoke a reaction they weren't prepared for. Instead, he tried hailing them, hoping for some form of communication. There was no response. "Logan," Sam's voice trembled. "I'm picking up another signal. It's coming from the sphere." Sure enough, a low-frequency pulse began emanating from the structure, resonating through the ship's hull. The sound was eerie, almost musical, but it carried an undertone of menace that set Logan's teeth on edge. Then, without warning, the drones surged forward, attaching themselves to the Vanguard star's exterior. Alarm screamed as the ship's systems faltered under the sudden intrusion. Lights flickered and the temperature dropped sharply. "They're hacking us," Sam yelled, frantically trying to counteract the breach. "They're shutting everything down." Logan gripped the controls, fighting to maintain control of the ship. "Can you override it?" "I'm trying," Sam shot back, sweat beading on her forehead. "But it's like they're learning faster than I can adapt." The ship shuddered violently as the drones drained its power. Desperate, Logan initiated an emergency protocol, ejecting auxiliary modules to buy them time. It worked, for a moment. The drones paused, recalibrating their approach. "Now!" Logan barked. "Get us out of here!" Sam slammed her fist onto the console, activating the ship's backup thrusters. With a burst of speed, the Vanguard star broke free from the swarm, narrowly avoiding capture. But as they sped away, Logan glanced back at the massive sphere, now receding into the distance. "We need to warn someone," he said grimly. "Whatever that thing is, it's dangerous, and it's not done with us yet." As the Vanguard star limped toward safer territory, neither Logan nor Sam noticed the faint trail of data being transmitted from their ship. Unbeknownst to them, their encounter had already set off a chain reaction, one that would soon engulf the entire galaxy in chaos. Part 4. The Aegis Dawn hovered cautiously near the massive sphere, its crew holding their breath as they waited for what would happen next. The explosion of light had temporarily disabled the drones, but the structure itself remained intact. Its glowing patterns dimmed but still active. Nathan Hale gripped the controls tightly, his eyes fixed on the view screen as he scanned for any signs of movement. Clara Hayes sat beside him, her fingers flying over the console as she analyzed readings from the ship's sensors. "We need to move," Clara said sharply. "That blast didn't destroy the sphere. It just stunned it. If we stay here too long, those drones will come back online." Nathan nodded, his jaw clenched. "Agreed. Let's get closer while we still can. If Logan was right about this being the Gytherian stronghold, then there has to be a way inside." Sarah Bennett leaned forward from her seat at the navigation panel. Her sharp green eyes flickered between the screens and the viewport outside. "There's an opening forming near the base of the sphere," she reported. "Looks like some kind of entrance." Daniel Cruz adjusted his glasses nervously, glancing up from his workstation. "Are you sure that's not a trap? Those drones could swarm us the second we step inside." "It's our only shot," Nathan replied firmly. "If we want answers, and a way to stop these things, we have to take the risk." With Sarah guiding them carefully through the debris field, the Aegis Dawn approached the widening gap in the sphere's surface. As they drew nearer, the team noticed strange symbols etched into the metal walls surrounding the entrance. They pulsed faintly, almost invitingly, though none of them trusted appearances. "Those markings look familiar," Daniel muttered, pulling up images of ancient alien artifacts stored in the ship's database. "They're similar to the ones Logan described in his last transmission. Maybe they're part of the Zytherian language or whatever controls them." Clara frowned. "If we're going in, we'll need protection. Those drones might not be fully operational yet, but I doubt they're gone for good." Nathan turned to address the crew. Everyone suit up. We're taking a shuttle down to investigate. Stick together and stay alert. This place is unpredictable. Minutes later, the small landing party stood assembled in the shuttle bay. Each member wore reinforced combat suits equipped with oxygen supplies and basic weaponry. Nathan carried a handheld scanner designed to detect energy signatures, while Daniel brought along a portable toolkit filled with devices meant to interface with alien technology. Sarah and Clara each carried compact rifles loaded with experimental rounds capable of disrupting electronic systems, a precaution against encountering more drones. As the shuttle detached from the Aegis Dawn and entered the sphere, the interior revealed itself to be far larger than expected. The walls stretched endlessly upward, disappearing into shadowy heights. Strange conduits ran along the ceiling, glowing faintly with the same eerie blue light seen on the exterior. The air hummed, with a low-frequency vibration that made everyone uneasy. "This feels wrong," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum. "It's like the whole place is alive." "Stay focused," Nathan reminded her, his tone calm but firm. "We're here to find the source of the Zetherian's power. Keep your eyes open." The group moved cautiously through the labyrinthine corridors, their footsteps echoing eerily in the vast space. Every few minutes, Daniel paused to examine the walls or scan nearby surfaces. "These conduits are carrying massive amounts of energy," he explained. "Whatever's powering this place, it's beyond anything we've seen before." Clara kept watch behind them, her rifle raised. "I don't like this silence," she admitted. "It's too quiet. Something's watching us. I can feel it." Her words proved prophetic when, moments later, the ground beneath them trembled violently. Alarms blared within the shuttle bay, warning of incoming threats. From the shadows emerged a new wave of drones, their liquid metal forms shifting rapidly as they advanced. "Take cover!" Nathan shouted, diving behind a nearby conduit. The others followed suit, firing their weapons at the approaching machines. The experimental rounds worked, at least partially. Several drones froze mid-step as their systems overloaded, collapsing into lifeless heaps. But for everyone they destroyed, 2 more seemed to appear. "We can't hold them off forever," Sarah yelled, reloading her rifle. "We need to find the central chamber now." Nathan glanced around frantically, searching for a way forward. That's when he spotted it. A massive door set into the far wall adorned with intricate carvings that matched the symbols they'd seen earlier. "Over there," he called out. "Move." The team fought their way toward the door, dodging, blasts of energy fired by the relentless drones. When they reached it, Daniel quickly went to work, using his toolkit to interface with the locking mechanism. "It's encrypted," he muttered, sweat dripping down his face. "Give me a minute." "A minute is all we've got," Clara snapped, firing wildly as the drones closed in. Finally, with a loud hiss, the door slid open, revealing a cavernous chamber bathed in pulsating light. At the center stood a towering figure, the Zetherian Queen. She was unlike anything they'd imagined, her body a fusion of organic tissue and metallic components. Her multiple limbs twitched rhythmically, connected by thick cables to a sprawling network of machinery that dominated the room. Eyes like glowing embers scanned. "The intruders, radiating intelligence and malice. You dare trespass here?" Her voice boomed, resonating through the chamber. It wasn't spoken aloud, but transmitted directly into their minds, bypassing language barriers. "You are insignificant. Your resistance is futile." Nathan stepped forward, raising his weapon. "Not if we can help it." The Queen let out a sound that might have been laughter. "You cannot comprehend the power of the hive. Each drone, each fragment of my consciousness exists to serve the greater purpose. You will be assimilated or annihilated." Before anyone could react, the drones surged into the chamber, surrounding the team. Outnumbered and outmatched, they prepared for what seemed like certain death. But then Daniel shouted, "Wait, there's something else here." He pointed to a terminal embedded in the machinery surrounding the Queen. Streams of data flowed across its surface, connecting the Queen to the rest of the hive mind. "If we can upload a virus into her neural pathways, we might be able to disrupt the entire system," he exclaimed. Clara hesitated. Do you think it'll work? It's our only chance, Daniel replied grimly. Nathan nodded. Do it, but hurry. As Daniel began hacking into the terminal, the others formed a defensive perimeter, holding off the advancing drones as best they could. Energy blasts lit up the chamber, filling the air with smoke and sparks. One by one, the team members fell back, injured or exhausted, until only Nathan and Clara remained standing. The upload's almost complete, Daniel cried, his hands trembling as he worked. Just a little longer. Suddenly, a drone lunged at him, knocking him to the ground. Before it could deliver a fatal blow, Logan Shaw appeared seemingly out of nowhere, slamming into the machine and tearing it apart with brute force. His face was gaunt, his uniform torn and bloodied, but his determination burned brighter than ever. Logan, Nathan gasped, shocked to see him alive. No time for reunions, Logan growled, helping Daniel to his feet. Finish it. With a final keystroke, Daniel activated the virus. The Queen let out an ear-splitting scream as glitches spread across, her body disrupting the connection between her and the hive. The drones froze, their movement ceasing entirely as the link was severed. For a moment, everything went silent. Then with a deafening crash, the Queen collapsed, her form dissolving into shards of broken metal and flesh. The chamber shook violently, signaling the imminent collapse of the entire structure. We need to go. Now, Nathan ordered, grabbing Logan and dragging him toward the exit. The team sprinted back through the corridors, narrowly avoiding falling debris as the sphere began to self-destruct. Behind them, the once mighty hive mind crumbled, its power source extinguished. When they finally reached the shuttle, they wasted no time launching it toward the waiting Aegis Dawn. As the sphere exploded in a brilliant burst of light, the crew watched in awe from the safety of their ship. For the first time in weeks, hope flickered in their hearts. The Zetherians were defeated, but the scars of battle would linger for years to come. And though humanity had proven its worth, the galaxy knew that peace was fragile, and vigilance was key. Nathan stared out at the stars, his thoughts heavy with the sacrifices made, and those yet to come. Part 3. Weeks passed after the Vanguard star's encounter with the mysterious sphere, but its crew never made it back to report what they had seen. The ship's last transmission was garbled and incomplete, lost in the vastness of space. To the Galactic Concord, Logan Shaw and Samantha Brooks were presumed dead, another casualty of the uncharted regions that so many feared. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, strange events began unfolding. Colonies on the outer rim, remote outposts far from the core worlds, started going dark. Communication links failed, and ships sent to investigate vanished without a trace. At first, these incidents were dismissed as isolated accidents or pirate raids. But as more planets fell silent, panic spread like wildfire. Survivors who managed to escape brought chilling stories. They spoke of monstrous machines descending from the skies, their forms shifting and reforming like liquid metal. These machines moved with terrifying precision, harvesting organic life forms and leaving behind barren wastelands. Entire cities were emptied in hours, their populations reduced to ash or absorbed into the invaders' cold, mechanical bodies. The galactic leaders convened an emergency session, their usual debates replaced by urgent calls for action. Even the Krylosians, known for their arrogance and disdain toward weaker species, looked shaken. Their mighty fleets, equipped with weapons capable of obliterating moons, proved useless against the relentless assault. Reports poured in describing how the machines adapted to every strategy, countering attacks almost instantly. It was as if they could anticipate every move before it happened. Amidst the chaos, humanity found itself thrust into the spotlight. Not because of any great victory, but because of its resilience. Unlike other species, humans didn't wait for orders or rely solely on centralized command. When news of the invasions reached Earth, colonies banded together, organizing makeshift militias and fortifying defenses. Private corporations donated resources, while rogue traders smuggled supplies to besieged worlds. For once, humanity's chaotic, decentralized nature worked in its favor. On Earth, General Matthew Cole called an emergency meeting at Central Command. Around the table sat some of humanity's brightest minds. Lieutenant Clara Hayes, whose tactical expertise had earned her respect even among alien officers. Ambassador Roberta Finch, determined to keep diplomacy alive despite the mounting despair. And Commander Nathan Hale, whose calm leadership inspired those around him. "We know what we're dealing with now," General Cole said, his voice low and steady. "These things call themselves the Zytherians. They're not just machines. They're a hive mind. Every drone is connected to a central intelligence, which means they share knowledge instantly. That's why conventional tactics aren't working." Clara leaned forward, her sharp eyes narrowing. "So we need to hit them where it hurts their connection. If we can disrupt the link between the drones and this central intelligence, we might stand a chance." Roberta nodded thoughtfully. "But how do we find it?" "From what we've gathered, the Zytherians operate from a hidden stronghold somewhere, near the galactic core. Without coordinates, launching an attack would be suicide." Nathan, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "What about the Vanguard star?" Before they disappeared, Logan Shaw reported finding a massive structure in uncharted space. He believed it was active and dangerous. Could that be the source? General Cole frowned. "It's possible. If Shaw was right, then that structure might be the key to understanding and stopping the Zytherians. But getting there won't be easy. The region he described as treacherous, filled with debris fields and gravitational anomalies. And even if we reach it, there's no guarantee we'll survive long enough to gather intel." Despite the risks, Nathan volunteered immediately. "Send me. I'll lead a team to investigate. If Logan was onto something, we need to know. Besides, we don't have time to waste debating." Clara gave him a long look. "You realize this isn't just a scouting mission, right? If you go, you'll be walking straight into enemy territory. There's no backup plan." "I know," Nathan replied firmly. "But if there's even a slim chance we can stop this, I'm willing to take it." After much deliberation, the decision was made. Nathan would command the mission, accompanied by Clara and a small crew of specialists. Their task was simple yet daunting: locate the mysterious structure, gather as much information as possible, and return alive. Failure wasn't an option, not when billions of lives hung in the balance. As preparations got underway, word of the mission spread through the ranks. Volunteers poured in, eager to contribute despite the danger. Among them was Sarah Bennett, a former smuggler turned freedom fighter. Her skills as a pilot were unmatched, and she had a reputation for surviving impossible odds. Also joining the team was Daniel Cruz, a young but brilliant engineer who specialized in reverse engineering alien technology. Together, they formed a tight-knit group united by a shared purpose. Before departing, Nathan met privately with Ambassador Finch. She handed him a data chip containing classified information about the Zytherians, pieced together from survivor testimonies and intercepted transmissions. "This might help," she said softly. "But remember, Nathan, the fate of the galaxy rests on your shoulders. Don't let pride get in the way of doing what's necessary." He nodded solemnly. "I won't." The mission launched under the cover of darkness, aboard the starship Aegis Dawn. As the sleek vessel slipped past Earth's orbit, Nathan stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak by. Beside him, Clara studied the navigation charts, plotting a course through the hazardous sectors Logan had described. Behind them, Sarah and Daniel busied themselves with final checks, ensuring every system was ready for the challenges ahead. For days, the journey was uneventful. The crew stayed focused, running simulations and reviewing contingency plans. But as they approached the coordinates provided by Logan's last transmission, tension mounted. The debris fields came into view first, twisted remnants of ships floating silently in the void. Then, looming beyond them, the massive sphere appeared, its glowing patterns pulsating ominously. "That's it," Clara murmured, her voice tinged with awe. Logan was right. This thing, it's alive. Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. The sphere was even larger than he'd imagined, its surface covered in intricate designs that seemed to shift and change. Despite himself, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. "Stay sharp," he ordered, gripping the controls tightly. "We don't know what we're dealing with." As the Aegis Dawn drew closer, sensors picked up faint energy signatures emanating from the structure. Daniel analyzed the readings, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Whatever this is, it's generating immense power. Look at these fluctuations. They're off the charts." Sarah glanced at him nervously. "Do you think it knows we're here?" Before anyone could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. On the view screen, dozens of metallic shapes emerged from the sphere, moving toward them with alarming speed. "They're drones!" Clara shouted, her hands flying over the console. "Brace for impact!" The Aegis Dawn rocked violently as the drones latched onto its hull, attempting to breach the ship's defenses. Lights flickered and systems faltered under the strain. Nathan fought to maintain control, his knuckles white on the controls. "Daniel, can you reroute power to the shields?" he demanded. "I'm trying," Daniel yelled, sweat dripping from his forehead. "But they're adapting faster than I can keep up." Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, Sarah spotted something unusual on the scanners. "Wait, there's a weak spot on the sphere. It's emitting less energy than the rest. Maybe we can disable it from there." Without hesitation, Nathan steered the ship toward the designated area, narrowly avoiding the swarming drones. As they closed in, Clara fired a concentrated burst of energy at the weak point. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a deafening roar, the sphere erupted in a cascade of light. The drones froze mid-air, their movements halting abruptly. One by one, they detached from the Aegis Dawn and retreated back to the structure. "What did we just do?" Clara asked breathlessly. Nathan stared at the sphere, his expression grim. "We bought ourselves some time, but this isn't over. Not by a long shot." Though they had temporarily disabled the drones, the true battle was only beginning. Somewhere, within the depths of the sphere, the Zetherian Queen awaited, a being far more dangerous than anything they had faced before. Part 5. The destruction of the Zetherian Queen's stronghold marked a turning point in the war, but it wasn't the end. The massive explosion that consumed the sphere sent shockwaves rippling through space, disrupting communication networks, and scattering debris across multiple systems. For hours, the crew of the Aegis Dawn remained on high alert, fearing that remnants of the hive mind might still survive. But as time passed and no new threats emerged, hope began to take root. Nathan Hale stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the view screen as the glowing remains of the sphere faded into the void. Behind him, the rest of the team gathered, their faces reflecting a mix of exhaustion and relief. Logan Shaw sat slumped in a chair, his injuries bandaged but far from healed. Despite his weakened state, he managed a faint smile when Nathan approached. "You saved us back there," Nathan said, quietly, his tone filled with gratitude. "I thought you were gone." Logan shrugged weakly. "Not gone, just busy trying to stay alive. When those drones attacked the Vanguard star, I managed to eject before it was too late. Been hiding out in the wreckage ever since, waiting for a chance to strike back." Clara Hayes stepped forward, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "You didn't think to send a message? We could have used your help sooner." Logan gave her a wry grin. "Would you have believed me if I had? Besides, I figured my best shot was finding someone stupid enough to come looking for trouble. And here we are." Despite the tension in his voice, there was no malice in Logan's words. Everyone understood the risks he'd taken and the sacrifices he'd made. Without him, the mission might have ended very differently. Daniel Cruz cleared his throat nervously, breaking the silence. "So, what now? Do we head home?" Nathan shook his head. "Not yet. We need to make sure the Zytherians are truly gone. If even one fragment of the hive mind survives, it could rebuild, and we can't let that happen." Sarah Bennett leaned against the wall, her sharp green eyes scanning the room. "If they're rebuilding, they'll do it fast. We should check the planets they invaded first, see if any colonies are still standing." It was a grim suggestion, but a necessary one. The Zetherians' relentless assault had left countless worlds devastated. their populations either wiped out or absorbed into the hive. Survivors were few and far between, and many of them were traumatized beyond repair. Still, humanity owed it to these victims to search for answers, and perhaps redemption. With a heavy heart, Nathan gave the order to set course for the nearest affected colony. As the Aegis Dawn entered hyperspace, the crew prepared themselves for what lay ahead. None of them expected to find much in terms of survivors, but every life counted. Every story mattered. When the ship emerged from hyperspace near the planet designated as K-127, the sight that greeted them was heartbreaking. Once a thriving agricultural world, K-127 was now a barren wasteland. Its skies were choked with ash, and its surface bore the scars of relentless harvesting. Entire cities lay in ruins, their buildings reduced to rubble. The air was thick with an acrid smell that made everyone uneasy. "This is worse than I imagined," Clara murmured, staring at the desolate landscape below. "How could anyone recover from this?" Nathan clenched his fists tightly. "We focus on the living. There has to be someone who survived." The shuttle descended cautiously, its sensors scanning for signs of life. At first, nothing appeared on the monitors. Then faint readings popped up, a cluster of heat signatures buried deep underground. Following the signals, the team landed near the entrance to what looked like a bunker. Inside, they found a group of survivors huddled together in dim light. Their faces were pale and hollow, their clothes tattered and dirty. Many clutched makeshift weapons, ready to defend themselves at a moment's notice. When Nathan and his team entered, the survivors flinched, their fear palpable. "It's okay," Nathan said gently, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "We're human. We've come to help." One of the survivors, a middle-aged woman, with streaks of dirt on her face, stepped forward hesitantly. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Help? No one comes to help anymore. You're too late." Nathan exchanged a glance with Clara before addressing the woman again. "Tell us what happened here. Who did this to you?" The woman gestured toward the surface above them. "They came without warning. Machines. Monsters. They took everything. Our crops, our animals, our people. Those who resisted were killed. The rest." She trailed off, unable to finish. Logan knelt beside her, his expression softening. "We know who they are. The Zetherians. We destroyed their leader. That's why we're here, to see if anyone else survived." At this, the survivors stirred, hope flickering in their weary eyes. One man, younger than the others, spoke up. "If you really stopped them, then maybe there's a chance, but don't expect thanks. Too many promises were broken already." Nathan nodded solemnly. He didn't blame them for being skeptical. Trust was hard to earn, especially after such devastation. Still, the fact that these people were alive at all was a victory worth celebrating. Over the next few hours, the team worked to stabilize the survivors, sharing food, water, and medical supplies brought from the Aegis Dawn. Daniel rigged up temporary power generators using scavenged parts, while Sarah helped fortify the bunker's defenses. Clara and Logan stayed close to the survivors, listening to their stories and documenting everything they learned about the Zetherians' tactics. As night fell, or what passed for night in the bunker's artificial lighting, Nathan sat alone in a corner, reviewing the data collected during their visit. The information painted a clearer picture of the enemy: ruthless, efficient, and nearly unstoppable. Yet humanity had proven capable of fighting back. It was a small comfort, but one he clung to. Clara joined him after a while, sitting cross-legged on the cold floor. "Do you think we'll ever find peace in this galaxy?" she asked softly. Nathan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know. Maybe not in our lifetime. But as long as we keep trying, there's hope." She smiled faintly. "Hope's a good start." The journey continued, taking the Aegis Dawn to other ravaged worlds. Each stop revealed more horrors, but also glimmers of resilience. On one planet, they discovered a hidden resistance movement, led by former farmers turned guerrilla fighters. On another, they encountered scientists working tirelessly to develop countermeasures against future invasions. Slowly but surely, humanity began piecing itself back together. Word of their efforts spread quickly, reaching even the ears of the Galactic Concord. Alien leaders who had once dismissed humans as reckless upstarts now watched in awe as Earth's ragtag forces united under a single banner. Together, they launched coordinated strikes against the remaining Zetherian drones, driving the invaders further into retreat. But the cost of victory was steep. Lives were lost, ships destroyed, and entire colonies erased from existence. For every step forward, there was a reminder of how fragile peace truly was. Still, Nathan and his crew pressed on, knowing that giving up was never an option. By the time they returned to Earth, the tide of the war had shifted decisively in humanity's favor. The Zetherians were no longer an existential threat, but the scars they left behind would take generations to heal. And though the galaxy celebrated humanity's triumph, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Somewhere out there, lurking in the vastness of space, other dangers awaited. For now, however, humanity stood tall, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Part 6. The Aegis Dawn returned to Earth as heroes, but the mood aboard the ship was far from celebratory. The crew had seen too much destruction, suffered too many losses, to feel any real joy in their victory. Nathan Hale stood on the bridge, staring out at the blue-green orb growing larger in the viewport. It was strange how familiar yet distant Earth felt after everything they'd been through. Home shouldn't feel so foreign, he thought bitterly. Clara Hayes joined him, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes betraying the toll of sleepless nights and endless battles. "Do you think anyone will understand what we went through?" she asked quietly. Nathan shook his head. "Probably not. People back home have been safe this whole time. They've heard stories about the war, sure, but hearing isn't the same as living it." "They'll cheer for us," Clara said, her voice tinged with bitterness. "They'll call us saviors and throw parades, but they won't see the faces of those we couldn't save. They won't hear the screams or smell the ash." Logan Shaw limped onto the bridge, leaning heavily on a cane. His injuries hadn't fully healed, and his usual cocky demeanor was replaced by something quieter, more somber. "Let them cheer," he muttered. "We earned it. Doesn't mean we forget what it cost." The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, greeted by cheers from crowds gathered at the landing site. Banners waved, music played, and reporters shouted questions as the crew disembarked. Nathan forced a smile for the cameras, shaking hands and accepting praise, but his mind was elsewhere. He kept thinking about the survivors they'd left behind, on distant planets, the ones still struggling to rebuild their lives. How could he celebrate when so many were still suffering? General Matthew Cole met them at Central Command, his expression unusually grave despite the festivities outside. "Good work," he said simply, nodding to each member of the team. "You've done humanity proud." Nathan nodded back but didn't speak. There was no pride in survival when so much had been lost. Cole led them into a private briefing room where holographic displays showed updates from across the galaxy. The Zetherians' forces had been decimated, their hive mind shattered beyond repair. Survivors of the invasion were slowly emerging from hiding, piecing together what remained of their worlds. But there was another issue looming, one that threatened to undo all the progress they'd made. "We've received reports of unrest among the alien races," Cole explained, pulling up images of protests and riots on various planets. "Some are calling for humanity to be held accountable for the war. They say our actions provoked the Zetherians." "That's ridiculous," Clara snapped, slamming her hand on the table. "We didn't ask for this fight. We didn't start it." "No, but we ended it," Cole replied calmly. "And now others are afraid of what comes next. Humanity proved itself stronger than anyone expected, and that makes some species nervous." Nathan frowned. "What are they saying? That we're a threat?" "Exactly." Cole sighed, rubbing his temples. They're demanding restrictions on human expansion and military capabilities. Some even want to revoke our membership in the Galactic Concord. The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. After everything they'd sacrificed, humanity was being painted as the enemy once again. It was maddening, but not entirely unexpected. Fear often bred distrust, and humanity's rapid rise had always made others uneasy. So what do? Logan asked, breaking the silence. Sit back and let them blame us for surviving? No, Nathan said firmly, standing up straighter. We don't apologize for fighting back, but we also can't afford another war. Not now. If we want peace, we need to show them we're willing to work together. Cole nodded approvingly. That's why Ambassador Finch has been working on a proposal. She believes we can turn this around if we focus on rebuilding, not just for humans, but for everyone affected by the invasion. The mention of Finch sparked a flicker of hope in Nathan's chest. Roberta Finch was one of the few people who truly understood diplomacy. If anyone could navigate this mess, it was her. The next day, Nathan accompanied Finch to a meeting of the Galactic Concord's Leadership Council. The chamber buzzed with tension as representatives from dozens of species argued over humanity's role in the galaxy. Accusations flew like daggers, each word sharper than the last. Nathan clenched his fists tightly, forcing himself to stay calm as Finch took the floor. Enough, she said sharply, her voice cutting through the chaos. This is not a trial. Humanity did not create the Zetherians, nor did we invite their attack. What we did was defend ourselves, and in doing so, we protected all of you. Her words silenced the room, drawing stares of disbelief and anger. Finch pressed on, undeterred. Yes, humanity is strong. Yes, we adapt quickly. But strength alone does not make us a threat. Look at what we've done. We've saved colonies, rebuilt worlds, and shared resources without asking for anything in return. Does that sound like aggression to you? One of the Varian delegates, a slender bird-like creature, tilted its head curiously. Your actions may have been noble, but they were also reckless. You acted independently, without consulting the Conquered. How can we trust you to follow the rules moving forward? Finch smiled faintly. Because we've learned from our mistakes. Moving forward, humanity pledges to cooperate fully with the Conquered. We will share our technology, our strategies, and our knowledge to ensure no one else suffers as we did. But we ask for fairness in return. No restrictions, no penalties, just a chance to prove ourselves as allies, not adversaries. The room erupted into murmurs as delegates debated Finch's proposal. Some seemed swayed by her arguments, while others remained skeptical. Nathan held his breath, knowing that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Finally, the Krylosian ambassador rose to speak. His deep, booming voice carried authority as he addressed the council. The human race has shown courage and determination in the face of unimaginable odds. To deny them a place among us would be unwise. He paused, locking eyes with Nathan. But trust must be earned. Prove yourselves worthy, and perhaps we can move past this. It wasn't a full endorsement, but it was enough. The council voted to allow humanity to remain in the Conquered, albeit under close supervision. For now, that was victory enough. Back on Earth, efforts to rebuild continued. Generals and scientists worked side by side to develop new technologies aimed at preventing future invasions. Colonies devastated by the Zetherians received aid shipments and volunteers eager to help restore what had been lost. Slowly but surely, hope began to take root. Nathan spent most of his days coordinating relief missions, traveling between planets to oversee reconstruction efforts. It was exhausting work, but it gave him purpose. Seeing communities come back to life reminded him why they had fought so hard in the first place. One evening, as he sat alone in his quarters, Clara knocked softly on the door. She entered without waiting for an invitation, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you could use this," she said, handing him one. He accepted it gratefully, taking a sip before speaking. "Thanks, I needed it." "You've been pushing yourself too hard," Clara said gently. "You can't fix everything, Nathan, not all at once." "I know," he admitted, setting the cup down. "But every time I stop, I think about the people we couldn't save. The colonies that are gone forever, how do you move past that? You don't, Clara replied honestly. You carry it with you, but you also remember the ones you did save, the ones who are still here because of what we did. Her words struck a chord deep within him. She was right. He couldn't erase the pain or undo the losses, but he could honor them by keeping the promise they'd made to protect the innocent, by building a better future. As the weeks turned into months, Nathan found solace in small victories. A child laughing in a newly rebuilt school, farmers planting crops in soil once scorched by Zetherian machines, scientists collaborating across species lines to create innovations that benefited everyone. These moments reminded him that humanity wasn't defined by its wars, it was defined by its resilience. And though the galaxy remained uncertain, one thing was clear. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest or aggression, but through unity and determination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as survivors, as builders, and as dreamers. For now, that was enough. The Zirak kept moving through space far from human borders. Inside, the humans were still treated like guests, but they knew better. They were being watched, studied, tested. Alex Monroe didn't like it, but he played along. So did the others. For now, Danny Ruiz spent most of his time near the tech rooms. He asked questions about alien systems, pretended to be curious. In truth, he was learning how everything worked, just in case. Karen Bell talked to Lyra a lot. They didn't start as friends, but they weren't enemies anymore either. Karen showed Lyra old photos from Earth, pictures of cities, oceans, forests. Your world is loud, Lyra said once. Yeah, Karen smiled. But it's alive. Tommy Grayson trained when he could. Push-ups, stretches, anything to stay sharp. He didn't trust Corveth. Didn't trust any of them. And Alex? He waited. He knew something big was coming. Meanwhile, Corveth sat in his command room watching data streams. Reports came in from the homeworld. Leaders wanted answers. They wanted to know if humans were a threat. He read the latest message again. Should we make contact? He thought about it. Humans were not like other species. They didn't talk first and fight later. They fought when they had to. And they never backed down. Finally, he answered. Not yet. We are not ready. They are not ready. Then, he turned to his second-in-command. Prepare for departure. Sir, we are taking our guests home. Back in their quarters, the humans heard the news from Lyra. You're sending us back? Danny asked. Yes, she said. Corveth says it's time. Alex looked at her. Why now? She hesitated. Because you scare him. He almost laughed. Good. Later that day, the humans were taken to a small shuttle. It wasn't human-made, but it looked strong enough. Corveth stood nearby, arms crossed. This will take you close to human space, he said. Not all the way. You'll have to float the rest. Alex stepped forward. Thanks. Corveth studied him. You could have killed us. I know. But you didn't. No. Why? Alex looked at Karen, then Danny, then Tommy. They all knew the answer. Because we're not monsters, Alex said. And because maybe one day you'll do the same for us. Corveth gave a slow nod. Maybe. He stepped aside. The hatch opened. Go, he said. The humans climbed in. Lyra stood near the door. She looked at them like she wanted to say more. Finally, she whispered, Thank you. Alex nodded. Take care, Lyra. The hatch closed. Moments later, the shuttle left the Zirak. It moved fast, leaving the alien ship behind. Inside, the humans sat in silence. Danny checked the controls. This thing actually works. Good, Alex said. Now let's get the hell home. On the Zirak, Corveth watched the shuttle disappear into the stars. Vel stood beside him. You really think they'll remember us? They already do, Corveth said. What if they tell others what happened? They will, Corvith said. And others will listen. Then what? Corvith looked at the stars. Then we hope they don't come looking for revenge. Meanwhile, on the shuttle, Danny found a screen showing alien messages. One caught his eye. It said, "Human ships are not to be boarded. Ever." Below that, another line. They do not play by the rules. And they do not forget. Danny showed it to Alex. Alex read it, then smiled. Good, he said. Good? Means we made an impression. Karen leaned forward. Do you think they'll ever come back? Maybe, Alex said. But not as enemies. How do you know? Because we showed them what humans are like. And what's that? Alex looked out the window at the stars ahead. We don't start fights, he said, but we always finish them. The shuttle flew on toward human space. Behind them, the Xeric turned away, and somewhere deep in alien territory, a new rule was added to every mission log: never board a human warship. Part 7. Months passed since the end of the Zetherian War, and the galaxy slowly began to heal. Humanity's role in defeating the invaders had earned them a grudging respect from many species, though tensions still lingered beneath the surface. The Galactic Concord remained fragile, its leaders wary of humanity's rapid rise and unpredictable nature. But despite the skepticism, Earth's contributions to rebuilding efforts were undeniable. Colonies once ravaged by the Zetherians now thrived with new life, thanks in large part to human ingenuity and determination. Nathan Hale found himself at the center of it all, leading missions across the stars to ensure stability and cooperation among the Concord's members. It was exhausting work, but he didn't complain. Every rebuilt city, every smile on a survivor's face reminded him why they had fought so hard. Still, there were moments when the weight of responsibility threatened to crush him. He often wondered if humanity would ever truly be accepted, or if their presence would always be seen as a threat. One evening, Nathan sat in his office aboard the Aegis Dawn, reviewing reports from various sectors. Clara Hayes entered without knocking, carrying a datapad filled with updates. She looked tired but determined, her usual sharpness dulled only slightly by the long hours she'd been working. More good news? Nathan asked, gesturing for her to sit. Clara shook her head. Not exactly. There's unrest in the Outer Rim again. Some colonies are refusing to cooperate with the Concord's rebuilding efforts. They're saying they don't trust us, or anyone else, to protect them. Nathan sighed deeply. It's not surprising. After what they went through, I can't blame them for being cautious. But if we don't stick together, another attack could tear us apart. That's not all, Clara added grimly. There are rumors spreading about something out there. Survivors claim they've seen strange ships near uncharted regions, ships that don't match any known designs. Nathan frowned. You think it's another threat? I don't know, Clara admitted, but it's worth looking into. If there's even a chance of another invasion, we can't afford to ignore it. The next morning, Nathan called an emergency meeting with General Matthew Cole and Ambassador Roberta Finch. Together, they reviewed Clara's findings and discussed potential courses of action. Finch, ever the diplomat, urged caution. We can't jump to conclusions, she warned. Rumors spread easily, especially after a war like this. Let's gather more evidence before alarming the Concord. Cole nodded in agreement. She's right. But we should send a team to investigate quietly. If there is a new threat, we need to know sooner rather than later. Nathan volunteered immediately. I'll lead the mission. We'll keep it small. Just me, Clara, Logan, Sarah, and Daniel. That way we won't draw too much attention. Finch hesitated but eventually relented. Be careful, Nathan. The last thing we need is another conflict. The Aegis Dawn set course for the Outer Rim, following leads provided by survivors. The journey took them deep into uncharted territory, where stars burned dimmer and the void seemed colder. As they approached the reported location of the mysterious ships, tension mounted among the crew. None of them wanted to believe that another enemy lurked in the darkness. But none of them could dismiss the possibility either. When they finally arrived, the sight that greeted them was both breathtaking and terrifying. A massive fleet of alien vessels hovered silently in the distance, their sleek designs unlike anything recorded in the Concorde's databases. Their surfaces shimmered faintly, reflecting the light of nearby stars. Sensors detected no signs of hostility, but the sheer size of the fleet sent chills down everyone's spines. "What do we do?" Sarah asked nervously, her hand hovering over the controls. "Stay calm," Nathan instructed. "Let's try hailing them first. Maybe they're just explorers." Clara activated the communication system, broadcasting a standard greeting in multiple languages. For several agonizing minutes, there was no response. Then a voice crackled over the speakers, a deep, resonant tone that echoed through the ship. "You are human," the voice stated, its words translated automatically into basic English. "Why have you come here?" Nathan stepped forward, addressing the unseen speaker. "We mean no harm. We're investigating reports of unusual activity in this region. Can you tell us who you are?" There was a pause before the voice replied. "We are the Zinari. Our kind has watched your struggles from afar. You have proven yourselves resilient but also reckless," Logan muttered under his breath. "Great. Another species judging us." Ignoring him, Nathan pressed on. "If you've been watching, then you know we've worked hard to rebuild what was lost. We're not looking for trouble, just answers." The Zinari's response came slowly, each word measured and deliberate. "Your actions during the Zytherian War intrigued us. Few species would risk so much to save others. Yet, your presence disrupts the balance of power. Tell me, human, what drives you?" Nathan hesitated, unsure how to respond. Finally, he said, "Survival. Hope. We fight because we believe in a better future. For ourselves and for everyone else." The silence that followed felt heavier than before. Then the Zinari spoke again. "Hope is a dangerous thing. It blinds those who cling to it. But perhaps it is also a strength." Before Nathan could reply, the fleet began moving, shifting formation as if preparing to depart. Alarms blared on the bridge as one of the ships broke away, heading directly toward the Aegis Dawn. Its movements were slow and deliberate, almost ceremonial. "They're scanning us," Daniel reported, his fingers flying over the console. "I'm picking up energy fluctuations. It's like they're studying our technology." "Should we fire?" Sarah asked, gripping the controls tightly. "No," Nathan ordered. "Hold your position. Let's see what they want." The Zinari ship stopped just short of the Aegis Dawn, its surface glowing brighter. A beam of light shot out, enveloping the smaller vessel in a warm, golden hue. For a moment, everyone froze, unsure what was happening. Then, the light faded, leaving the crew unharmed but shaken. "They've uploaded data into our systems," Daniel announced, his eyes wide with disbelief. "It's incredible. They've given us schematics for advanced propulsion systems, energy shields, and medical tech far beyond anything we've seen." Clara stared at the screens in awe. "Why would they give us this? What do they want in return?" The Zinari's voice returned, softer this time. "Consider this a gift and a warning. Your kind holds great potential, but also great danger. Use this knowledge wisely. The galaxy watches you now." With that, the fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving the Aegis Dawn alone in the vast emptiness of space. For a long time, no one spoke. The implications of what had just happened weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Finally, Logan broke the silence. "Well, that was unexpected." Nathan managed a faint smile. "Unexpected, but not unwelcome. This could change everything. For us and for the conquered." Back on Earth, the discovery of Zinari technology sparked a wave of innovation. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to adapt the new advancements, integrating them into existing systems. Within months, humanity's fleets became faster, stronger, and more efficient. Medical breakthroughs saved countless lives, while Agricultural improvements helped struggling colonies recover faster than anticipated. But with progress came challenges. Other species grew increasingly wary of humanity's growing capabilities, fearing they might use their newfound power to dominate the galaxy. Diplomatic tensions flared once again, forcing Ambassador Finch to work overtime to reassure nervous leaders. Through it all, Nathan remained focused on the bigger picture. The Zenari's warning echoed in his mind. Hope was both a strength and a danger. Humanity had proven itself capable of greatness, but greatness carried responsibility. As long as they stayed united, willing to share their successes with others, they could build a brighter future for everyone. One evening, as Nathan stood on the observation deck of Central Command, Clara joined him. Together they watched Earth spin peacefully below, its continents bathed in sunlight. "You think we'll make it?" Clara asked softly. Nathan nodded. "Yeah, it won't be easy, and there will always be challenges. But as long as we keep fighting for something better, I think we'll be okay." Clara smiled faintly. "Then let's keep fighting." And so, humanity continued its journey among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as dreamers determined to carve out a place for themselves in the universe. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together,